Good morning. On behalf of Missouri Valley Conference Commissioner Doug Elgin, Site Media Coordinator Mike Kern, and the entire MVC staff, welcome to the Brian Burwell Memorial Interview Room in Scottrade Center and the first and second rounds of the 2016 NCAA Men's Basketball Championship. Today's pre-game day interviews will feature all 8 schools assigned to this venue. A few housekeeping details in order to keep the proceedings moving in a professional manner, and they are as follows. 1, please silence your cell phones. Thank you very much. 2, each time we introduce a new dais, please identify yourself and your affiliation the first time you ask a question to the head coach or the student athletes. Please wait until one of our 2 mic holders is with you before you ask a question. Their hands are up. To get into the rotations, get their attention or mine. If you have a follow-up question, remind the mic holder so she does not leave you. There is no flash photography allowed and nor videotaping of any kind, including cell phones. Thank you. Today's sessions are 15 minutes long for each group of student athletes and each head coach. There'll be 15-minute breaks between each school. All press conferences are transcribed by ASAP Sports down here to my right. We have satellite coordinates if you are ready. The format is 1080I, M as in mother, P as in Peter, egg, G4, 420. Those will be repeated throughout the day. First up will be the Syracuse student athletes, followed by Jim Boeheim. Representing Syracuse, Michael Benajay and Trevor Cooney. And we will start right off with questions. Please wait for the mic holders, and we'll start right here in the first row. Number 2's here.
Jesse Doherty from the Daily Orange. You guys are both on the team, or I know, Mike, you weren't playing, but you guys are both on the team in 2013 when you guys made a Final Four run. I was wondering, just going into this, if there's anything you learned from that or think you can take from that, seeing that team reach that you could tell these guys and also use yourselves?
Michael,
yeah, I know.
I'm sorry. I'm going to give the order so they know who's talking down here. So we'll go with Michael first and Trevor second.
That year I was a red shirt, so I basically just watched the whole thing, and I was able to practice with that team, and our practices were at a high intensity. I think that was part of the reason why the team was so successful.
I think it was just how to stick together, really. I mean, we went through a rough patch towards the end of that year, going into the Big East tournament. But I think it was just how to stick together and just keep pushing forward, really.
You guys are kind of very similar dimensions to Mike and Brandon, top of the zone. So anything that you saw them do, because I know they were particularly good there, that you guys maybe try and emulate when you guys play those spots?
Trevor, you go first this time.
I think activity level. They were really active up there. They're really good at angles and taking away passing lanes, and I think that's one thing that Mike and I try and do.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, similar to Trish and Brandon, like Trev said, they were very active. I think from a one-on-one standpoint, just keeping people in front, I think we can do a good enough job as they did in the past.
This one goes back to 2014. I mean, what do you kind of remember about that game in terms of the way they kind of limited three-point shooting? And it's a lot of the same guys and a lot of the same players that you're going to be facing. What do you kind of remember about that game and how hard it was to really get off a good shot from behind the arc?
Michael, then Trevor?
You got to take what the defense gives us. If they're trying to run us off the line, you just got to attack the basket strong, and eventually that will open up the three-point shot.
Yeah, no, they're a really good defensive team, and that's kind of what they're known for. And I think if we're able to get the movement that we want to get and get in the lane and make plays, I think we'll be able to get the shots that we want.
Left-hand side, gentlemen.
Hi, thanks, guys. I was wondering, going back to last year, the postseason self-imposed ban came down. I was wondering, now that you're back in the tournament, how you feel about that in retrospect, whether you think with the benefit of hindsight it worked out, and whether you've been in touch with Rakeem at all.
Michael, you first, please.
Yeah, I texted Rakeem yesterday, matter of fact. It wasn't basketball related or anything like that. I just wished us good luck, especially after the season we had last year. This is just a gift for us, really. We're happy to be in it, and we just want to take full advantage of it.
Yeah, kind of the same thing. I mean, it definitely feels good to be here. And, I mean, last year was last year, and we got to take full advantage of this year.
Right-hand side, gentlemen.
Good morning, gentlemen. Marty Smith from ESPN. I wonder what it was like for you guys watching the selection show put us there. What level of concern did you have that you might not get in, and what was it like when you heard your team's name announced?
Trevor, you go first.
It was definitely interesting. All my years I've been here, never had that feeling, I think, which is a good thing going into Selection Sunday. And this year was a lot different. And I kind of thought we would get the play-in game, and then we didn't get that game, and then you saw Pittsburgh get a 10 seed, and I'm thinking, what's going on now? And then finally heard our name called. And, I mean, it was definitely a big relief because, I mean, this is definitely a special thing to be a part of, and definitely for our senior year, makes it a lot better.
Yeah, just what he said. Senior year, you always want to end going to the tournament. And, it's a good thing that we achieved that. It was nervous just to watch that whole process, especially just on TV, getting the last name put on the screen. Finally, when I saw it, it was a great relief.
Follow-up question.
Yes, sorry, boys, I'm killing you. What did you learn about yourselves and about Coach Boeheim during those games he was absent?
Michael, first.
I learned how important he is as a coach to our team. You know, he's a competitor on the sideline for us. He puts us in the right position to make plays. And for ourselves, I think we just grew from that. You know, it was a learning experience for us, and we were able to see what worked and what didn't.
Yeah, no, it was tough. I mean, in all my years of playing, I've never had that happen before. And you get to the highest level, and all of a sudden you lose a guy that's very, very important to the team. And it was tough, but I think as a team we learned a lot about ourselves. And, I mean, with him coming back was definitely a big thing for us.
We're going to go there, Karen, and Dawn right back here. Go, please.
Yeah, hey, Mike and Trevor. You know, defense in these NCAA tournaments is important, especially when you guys have a kind of a unique defense and unique the way you play it. What do you think needs to get a little bit better about the way you play defense as the tournament approaches?
Trevor, lead us off.
I think movement on defense is a big thing, and when we're moving on defense and we're getting out to shooters, taking away passing lanes, I think our defense is tougher to play against.
Yeah, agree with that. And, you know, just better activity, like you said, and just finishing out plays, getting those rebounds and limiting their second chance opportunities.
You know, what do you kind of remember about the emotion and atmosphere after, you know, Tyler missed that shot a couple of years ago? And do you kind of still remember it, and does it kind of feed going into tomorrow, I guess?
Just Trevor.
It was tough. I mean, that was really a tough game to play in. I remember it. I remember a lot of it. I mean, I watched film on it, and they're a good team, and they got a lot of similar guys back. And I mean, we prepared for them just like we did last time, so I think we'll be ready.
Right here in the middle.
Mike Waters from the Syracuse Media Group. You know, guys, a lot of folks have asked you how it impacted you last year to miss out on the tournament, but you've both been around a while. You know both Coach Boeheim really well. How do you think missing out on the tournament last year affected him?
Michael, lead us off.
I said earlier he was a competitor. I'm sure it wasn't easy for him, you know, watch teams, especially some teams that we beat that was in the tournament. And, you know, it's tough. I just feel like he got better as well. He probably watched some things that he liked or didn't like from other teams and incorporated it with us.
I mean, I'm sure it was really tough for him. I mean, he's been coaching for a long time, and he's been in the tournament almost all those years. And I think for him not to be a part of it was really tough for him.
Anything else for the student athletes of Syracuse? Okay, gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Best of luck. Head coach of Syracuse is here, Jim Boeheim. We're going to ask him to make a statement on his club, being here in St. Louis, being in the tournament. Then we'll go to questions. Jim, please.
Well, we're happy to be here. This team has worked very, very hard this year, and we're excited to be in the tournament and to be playing a team like Dayton that, obviously tremendous basketball team. We have an experience with them 2 years ago, how good they are, and then I think they won one of the toughest conferences this year in the country. So we have tremendous respect for them and just how good they are.
Questions right here in the second row, number 1.
You said you've watched Dayton play, 8 times this season. Do you seek out, their games, and do you kind of ever think about?
I just watch the games that are on. They've been on a number of times, so I saw them early in the year. And of course, we've now seen tapes and everything, and so we have a good understanding of how good they are.
Do you ever think about the game 2 years ago? When you're watching them, especially since they have a lot of those, the same guys on their roster.
No, I don't. Not too much. No, not when I'm watching. No.
Right-hand side, Jim.
Coach, hi, Marty Smith from ESPN. Good morning. Why was this the happiest you've ever been on Selection Sunday?
Well, because 31 times we were in the tournament before the Selection Sunday came. There's 4 other times that we were on the bubble and we didn't make it in any of the 4. So this was the first time that we were on the so-called bubble that we actually made it. And so that was one of the reasons. And then I think this team is really, it's obviously been a difficult year for them to go through everything that's happened. And then we had the unbelievable start really to our year, which is, why we got in the tournament, that we won a tournament with 6 teams that are in the NCAA tournament, and 2, Connecticut and Texas A&M. Obviously, Connecticut won their tournament at the end of the year, and Texas A&M went to overtime in their tournament. So we had 2 neutral site wins early, and then to go to Duke and win. So this team has proven that they can play well at a very high level away from home, and I think that is something that can make a good tournament team. But I think that just the idea that we hadn't made it before was big, and then for this team, what they had to fight through this year and start 0-4 in the league. You have to go to Miami and Pittsburgh, and then you got North Carolina in your first 4 games. So it was not a great way to start. They had a difficult schedule to start, and then they had to end up at North Carolina and at Florida State their last 2 games. So it was a very, very difficult schedule. We are the only team in the league that played the top 5 teams on the road. We were at North Carolina, at Virginia, at Louisville, at Pittsburgh, at Miami, and at North Carolina.
During those 9 games you were absent, I wonder what you may have learned about yourself or about the NCAA or your program or life.
Well, I learned that it's not fun sitting home for 32 days when you haven't been able to plan it. So it's a good lesson for retirement. Make sure you have a plan. Obviously I didn't have a plan for 32 days. I mean, the plans that were talked to me, or people told me, Jay Billis and Sean McDonough, good friends of mine, we'll go play golf. Well, how can you go play golf when your team's getting beat by 10, 15 points someplace? I don't think that's a good picture to put in the paper, which I'm sure they would. Jim Boeheim playing golf and his team's losing, so there was never an alternative that you could do. There was nothing. I thought about it for, the 6 months ahead of time. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And there is nothing. You sit home, you watch the games, nobody really wanted to watch them with me, I guarantee you that. And I now realize what fans do when I always laugh at them, that you're yelling at the television, that's what you do when you're not there. And so it was difficult, and I got to go see my kids play a little bit more, but I usually get to see their games anyway. But I got, I think, a couple extra games in.
Jim Paul Doherty, Cincinnati Enquirer. Would you mind discussing the advantages to playing a zone defense, especially in a tournament format, the quick turnaround and the possibility that teams have not seen you
Well,
play zone?
if your defense is good, it helps you in tournaments. And it doesn't matter what defense you play. Everybody now sees zone. Dayton, we've got miles of tape on them playing against the zone. So they've seen a zone. I think sometimes during the regular season, you'll play a game and the team has played 6 straight games against man-to-man, all. And now they've got 2 days to prepare for you and they're playing against your zone. Well, that's not what happens here. Dayton plays against zone all year, and they've had 5 days, 6 days, whatever, 5 days, I guess, to prepare to play against us. So it's not, if our zone is good, then it'll help us. But any defense is good, it'll help you. So the turnaround is slightly easier in terms of the other team is not used to playing against it, and they only have a day. But most teams in this tournament that are going to have a chance to play us will be practicing against the zone during the week, this week. So it's I don't know if it's really that big of an advantage. You know, I hope it is, but we really can't prove that. Some teams have come out and shot great against us in tournaments. I think it helps us in the preseason tournaments because you're playing back to back to back. I think it probably does help you. And we've won a lot of those tournaments, a lot. So we haven't won a lot of NCAA tournaments, but it's a little bit harder.
Left-hand side.
Hi, Coach. Talked about, getting in from the bubble. Given last year's postseason ban, did that feel kind of vindicating? And kind of, with the benefit of hindsight, do you feel like self-imposing the ban last year was the right call?
Well, it was the right call, but not for that reason. I mean, we didn't do it because, well, we might not make. When we did the ban, we were 14-7, better than we were this year. So and we won 18 games, and we narrowly lost a couple games at the end of the year. So we could have made it last year if we'd have gone to the tournament and done something. We certainly could have. We had great wins last year. We beat Louisville. We won at Notre Dame. We had some other wins. But the misconception is that you don't have to take this ban. You can wait. I don't know where the media gets that from. There is no waiting. When you feel that you're going to be out of the tournament, you don't say, well, we're going to just wait a year. You have to make that decision. It turned out to be beneficial because we might not have made it last year, and we did make it this year. And the other reason that I wanted to take the ban, and I thought it was the right move, is there was only 2 months left, a month and a half left. We only had one senior last year, and he had played in 3 tournaments and won Final Four. The 2 other seniors we had were coming back. So we only really took it away from one guy, and it turned out we didn't take it away from him anyway because he wouldn't have gone, but he had been 3 times. So it was, and the other thing is, 1 month knowing you're not going to the tournament is one thing. To sit in Syracuse and for 10 months know we're not going to the tournament next year, that would not have been good. So there's a lot of reasons. It's not just that part. It really overriding reason is if you're going to take it, you got to take it. You can't just wait. But all those other factors that I just talked about all play into it a little bit as well.
We have 5 minutes to go. We have a question here, right in back, and there. Go.
Jim, how have you seen Frank Howard evolve over the season, and how ready is he to receive the minutes he's been receiving lately in the NCAA tournament?
Good question. Next question. I don't know. Some involvement.
On the side.
Jim, right here, Tom Archdeacon from Dayton. Alan Griffin is a guy you've really embraced. I mean, he played for you, he was on your staff, and you helped him get the job at Dayton. Well, what is it about this guy?
I love Alan Griffin. He's the best. I mean, he's rooting for Dayton, trust me, but there's a little part of him inside it's got orange. Don't worry, you know that. He's the most unique thing Alan Griffin started as a sophomore and did pretty good. Had a pretty good year. This junior year, I sat him. I started somebody else, and that normally is transfer or, I hate you. I'm not going to ever do anything for you. He worked right through it and ended up contributing, making a big contribution that year after that. And he's one of the best I've ever had. And when I knew there was an opening, I called Arch. I said, this is a guy, that would be an absolute great coach for you. And I think he has been. I think he's one of the best ever.
Hey, Jim, Dan Wolken, USA Today. When you talk about it being a difficult year for your players, how difficult was it for Mike Hopkins to, sort of be put in that situation? Yeah. And do you think that what he went through will benefit him?
Oh, yeah. It was a tremendous benefit. And when you analyze it, the 2-day window we had wasn't enough. We were trying to prepare a little bit because we were thinking, okay, and when we hadn't heard from, we're thinking, well, it's going to be the first 9 games of the conference. We had no reason to think otherwise. So we had prepared actually a little bit. I'd had him do some meetings and do a little bit more in practice and things. But when it hit like that and we had 2 days, the team could not adjust to that. They really couldn't. And we didn't play well at Georgetown and St. John. We just didn't. They didn't play anywhere near like they had played. And it wasn't so much that Mike did something wrong. There was nothing he could have done. John couldn't have done anything. But then he got it going. They started to play. They played very well. They won some difficult home games. They went to Miami and Pittsburgh and played well. They played really well, and they played really well against Clemson. They had the game won. Clemson's good. So it wasn't the 2 days they didn't play well, 2 games. But after that, they played just as well as if I'd have been there. But you can't, even that said, he's got a different style. He's going to coach a different way. He'll use some of the same things, but differently. So you can't judge what he did in that situation as to what kind of coach he's going to be. I think he's going to be a better coach than me someday, but not in that situation. And if it had been the opposite and I was assistant taking over, it just isn't going to work. It's different. I do things differently and have a different voice than he has. He will be very successful, but it took a couple games, and it wasn't a good situation. We were too fragile. We were right on the borderline, and we were on the borderline when I came back. I mean, we won a couple, but we were at home. We did have a great win at Duke, but Mike, that was just one of those things. But we played a little better, but we didn't really play great. But we had the only 2 bad games we had were the first 2. They didn't adjust quickly to that. That was the difference, really. But he's a tremendous coach, and it'll help him because it's different. It's different being the head coach. I mean, I went through it. My first year, you do some things, and you look back on them, and that wasn't very good, But, we all make mistakes, I just don't come in after the game and say, well, I lost this game. Because in reality, no one guy, no one player, one coach loses the game. I think people want you to come in and say that, well, I should have done that. Well, there's a lot of things you do. You do 100 things during the game. You can do 90 right, and you might put this one guy in, he misses 4 shots. It's not a mistake. It's just something that you tried and didn't work. But
we have time for one more question right here.
Mike Waters, Syracuse Media Group. Going back to last year's postseason ban, how did that impact you? And what did you do last year while the tournament was going on? Did you have a chance to do some TV work and turn it down, or?
No, I don't even. Really, I mean, we've always had the league tournament. We've always had the NIT. We've been in a tournament every year except the one, and won one of those years. So I think it was because it turned out that we didn't play great at the end of the year. It wasn't a killer that you couldn't go to the tournament because you probably weren't going to get in. It would have been nice to go to the league tournament. It would have been nice to play in the NIT, but it just didn't happen. So you just kind of moved on. That's all. Yeah.
Okay, Jim, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Best of luck. The Middle Tennessee State Blue Raiders are next. They are the 15th seed in the Midwest. They are the Conference USA Tournament champions. They'll play number 2 seed Michigan State in Friday's second game. With us on the dais here is Perrin Buford and Reggie Upshaw, and we are ready for questions in a 15-minute session. Remember to give your name and affiliation first time you ask a question. We're going to start in the back.
Gentlemen, the question's for both of you, please. Obviously, there's excitement when you win and get in the tournament, but then there's the realization you're going to play a Michigan State, their 19th straight tournament, 7 Final Fours. I'm just curious, will you talk about, because you are a champion, you deserve to be here, but would you talk about that going from excitement of being in to realizing you're playing Michigan State?
Reggie, you first, please, then Perrin.
As far as just the excitement and realizing who we're playing, I think our coaches have done a great job leading up to us coming up here, just telling us, I mean, it's just another team. Yeah, they have a lot of history, but I mean, we've played against great competition all year. We had a really tough non-conference schedule, so I feel like we're prepared to play just about anybody.
Kind of just based off what he said, we did have a really good non-conference schedule that I feel like prepared us for this moment. And I know me and my teammates have put in a lot of hard work all season long. The coaches have done a great job during the scout just to get us prepared for this moment. So, yes, we're here and we're ready to go.
Chris Solari, Lansing State Journal. This is a question for both of you guys. When you see Michigan State's defense, what type of challenges does their defense present to your offense? And do you feel that they are better in the paint at defending or on the perimeter?
Reggie, again, first, please.
As far as the challenges their defense presents us, it's they're really physical. A lot of the Big Ten teams are. They're really big around the paint. They got a lot of length at each position. But I feel like, and our coaches feel like we have a lot of mismatches. I know for like myself and Darnell, who really stretches the floor at the 5 position, and then Perrin as well.
Yes, kind of just based off what he's saying. Yes, they're big. They're 6'10". They're true post players, but I feel like we have our posts are more like stretch forwards that can really drive the basketball. So I feel like rebounding and things like that, they might have a little bit more advantage. But I feel like we our bigs can really drive their bigs.
Right here in front, gentlemen.
Carrie Hammer, WKRN, Nashville. Reggie, one thing is that Middle Tennessee might know more about Michigan State than Michigan State knows about Middle Tennessee. How do you use that as an advantage?
Just use it as motivation. We're not really one of the bigger teams when it comes to college basketball, but we know we're just as talented as everyone else in the tournament. So we just have to use this game to kind of make a statement to the rest of the country.
Spartan Nation, again, please, for both of you. Denzel Valentine, National Player of the Year, does a lot of things differently. What stands out to each of you about him when you watch him on film, please?
Perrin, you first this time.
Like you said, Denzel's a great player. He's a great talent. What stands out to me is how unselfish he is. He just moves the ball, always has his head up and things like that. So that's what really stuck out to me watching film on him.
What stuck out the most for me is just how he makes his teammates better. A lot of the times he'll penetrate and get in the paint, and he'll finish over a lot of guys. But at the same time, he does a great job of hitting open shooters. We saw that in the edit film today.
Anything else for the student athletes? Yes, all the way in the back.
Monica with the American Sports Network. You guys, conference championship game, very, very tightly contested. Winning the way that you did and with that momentum, how does that propel you forward even though it was a week ago now?
Perrin, you first, please.
That was a big booster because all year we've been winning close games, and I feel like this team that we're a part of really know how to close out a tough game and know how to grind out games down the stretch. So I feel like they give us kind of an edge and momentum. But like my coach said, you have to recreate momentum every day, and that's just going hard in practice during shoot around, just taking it serious and take no opponent lightly.
Like Perrin said, we're really resilient coming down the stretch in games. A lot of that showed in the championship game against Old Dominion. But I think we're 10-1 in games decided by 5 points or fewer. So just to kind of have that on our side, it shows a lot about who we are as a team and how we have great leadership.
On the aisle.
Joe Rexrow, Detroit Free Press. For both of you, you won a semifinals game in the 90s. You won the championship game in the 50s. Where do you want what's your ideal pace? Where do you want this game to be in terms of pace tomorrow?
Reggie, start us off.
I know Coach Davis said we have to really limit them to fast break points. Transition will be a huge part in the game. He wants us to be able to set our defense after each bucket. So as far as scoring 90, I'm pretty sure that won't really be one of those kind of games, but it'll definitely probably be over 50 or 60 points, I'd say.
I feel as if this team, we can play it a different lot of ways. We can get out in transition, but then again, we can also play in half court and get our defense set. But with a team like that who thrives in transition, I don't really think we want it to be a track meet, honestly. But I feel like we'll throw a lot of different looks at them that they probably haven't seen or not used to. So.
Gentlemen, for both of you, please, one of the things that your team does extremely well is help defense. And on a team like Michigan State that goes 11 and 12 deep, that has a lot of weapons, how much is it discipline maybe not to help as much and leave guys open?
Perrin, first, please.
It'll be very important, but basketball is a team game, so help defense is just a part of it, and we're really going to need that tonight when we play them tomorrow. So I just feel like everybody has just to be locked in on the defensive end, and it's just going to be a unit effort. And I feel like if we really buy into what Coach is saying in the game plan, we'll have a great chance of winning the game.
Going off what Perrin said, I know Coach Davis has a great game plan as far as keeping us in help defense. A lot of the things that they run is based off of whether or not you help or not. If you don't help, then they'll hit the roll guy, and if you do help, then they'll skip it for a three. So I mean, as far as the defenses and things like that, Coach Davis has a great game plan for that, and we just have to execute his game plan.
We have 3 minutes remaining in this session. We have 2 questions up. Go, please.
Perrin, as a senior, how are you balancing sort of the sense of urgency, and what are you saying to your guys as you guys move into this game?
Being a senior, it really hasn't hit me yet until today. It just hit me today, and it's like, okay, this could be my last game tomorrow. So really what I've been telling these guys is just do what we've been doing all year. Don't go out here and try to do anything different. Get us, do what got us here, and that's just being playing as a team and just being collective and just staying together through adversity and whatever else may come.
Jim Thomas, St. Louis Post-Dispatch. A lot of people watching the game tomorrow will be watching Middle Tennessee State play, perhaps for the first time. What's one thing that they should know about your team or need to know about your team?
Reggie, start us off.
One thing that I'd say a lot of people need to know about our team is that we're really unselfish. I know myself and Perrin, we do a great job of getting in the paint, making others better. We kick it out to Giddey. He's a great three-point shooter. And then we also have Darnell, who can knock down an open three, as well as cause mismatches for a lot of post players inside the paint, and then Jaquan as well. So, I mean, as far as for someone who hasn't seen us play, I just say take notice in how unselfish we are.
And for me, I just feel like we have a lot of guys that play similar positions or like size, like Coach likes to say, so we can really switch, which bothers a lot of teams because they're used to people just switching 1 through 3, but we can switch 1 through 5 at times, and just depending on the personnel. And we really don't have a set defense. We go from zone to man to half court press and just throw different looks at the opponents.
A question here.
Jay Sarkar, WLNS TV Lansing. Guys, the 15-2 upset is more common in the past few years than it has been ever before. So do you kind of look back at the teams like the Florida Gulf Coasts of recent history and kind of look at them saying, we can kind of do this as well and we can shock the world and shake up the tournament?
Perrin, first.
Oh, yes, most definitely. It's something Coach has been talking about. We seen he was saying how teams all over come to the conference and or the tournament and upset a big team. So we just been really focused in practice, just trying to execute his game plan, just really put it into play. So we know that's possible, and we just gonna go out and just play our hearts out and just leave it all on the line, and whatever happens, happens.
As far as the 15-2 upsets, we know that they always happen. It seems like just about each year there's a 15-2 upset, and that 15 seed always kind of makes a deep run into the tournament. So as far as just having that kind of history on your side, it's always great to have that. But at the end of the day, we know we have to go out and execute, kind of like what Perrin was saying.
Gentlemen, thank you very much, and best of luck to you. Head coach Kermit Davis will be up next in 5 minutes. Right on schedule, the head coach of the Blue Raiders is Kermit Davis. We're going to ask him to make a statement, start off talking about his team being here in St. Louis, and then we'll go to questions.
Thank you. It's good to be in the regional. Obviously, we're playing a team who right now, when you start really scouting them on tape, looks as good as anybody in college basketball. I enjoy our team. We have, our team has played 10 tournament games over the last 2 years, and they're 9-1. And so they have a good tournament feel. They have a good confidence. They know the challenges tomorrow afternoon versus Michigan State. They've been a great group to come to the locker room every day with, and I think our team will play with good confidence and play with a good physicalness tomorrow.
Start off right here.
Can you hear me?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
Now it's better.
As you prep for the game, do you stay away from the whole, 15-2, the upset thing, and do you try and just focus on, what's happening on the court and just prepping like you would any other opponent and stay away from all that, trying to shock the world type of stuff?
Yeah, we have. I think that, I just said, guys, you got to be who we are. We understand who we're playing, and we've scouted Michigan State like we'd scout every other team. Obviously, their talent level is extremely high, and they're so well coached. I use just a typical analogy. I said, we'd just show up in Nashville, and nobody had their colors on, and you'd go to a park, and they're going to play a pickup game. Every college player thinks they're going to win the pickup game, and you kind of pick guys, and that's the way you got to approach it. I mean, you can't worry about Michigan State. You just got to go and play and be who we are. And, over the last 4 or 5 years, our team has beaten UCLA and Tennessee and Vanderbilt and Auburn, Ole Miss a couple times. So I do think they have a quiet confidence, but they obviously understand the challenge.
Kermit J. Sarkar, WLNS TV Lansing. You have a team that you got 5 starters who can shoot the three from all over the place, but, what kind of game are you expecting tomorrow? More of a defensive battle or maybe just wide open from beyond the arc from both teams?
Yeah, obviously we need to get in more of a defensive battle. I think if this game with Michigan State gets in the 80s, it'll be tough for us, so the less possessions probably the better for us. Now, in our semifinal game against Marshall, we scored 99 to win. And then the championship game, it was almost like the Purdue-Michigan State game in our league. Old Dominion's a half-court team, and it was in the 50s. So, we like to get easy opportunities in transition, but the big key is you got to get back defensively against Michigan State because Valentine is just so good, and a lot of their threes come in offensive transition.
Spartan Nation. The first is, as a coach, your kids are obviously champions. They deserve to be here. How do you transition as the head coach from that euphoria of being in the tournament to the reality of facing a Michigan State?
I really haven't thought a lot about it like that, and I don't think our players really have. I think they expected to win our tournament championship. Our team's been through a lot of adversity with injuries. Like I said, I think they do have a quiet confidence. We understand Michigan State's a team that can sure win the national championship. But I just think our guys have just prepped like we have all year long, and I think they're looking forward to playing well tomorrow.
Your team really stands out as unselfish on defense. They love to help each other. On a team like Michigan State, though, that will go 10, 11, 12 deep with a lot of weapons, do you almost need them not to help as much and take a chance of leaving somebody open?
Well, we change defenses a lot. It's kind of who we are, and we do different things, not tricky, but trying to disrupt tempo. Michigan State is probably the best offensive rhythm team in college basketball, so hopefully that'll take into play. We've had 2 injuries to 2 starting guards during the year that won't play tomorrow night, or our team was playing 11 guys every night. So tomorrow we'll play 9, possibly 10.
Down here, RB.
RB Falstrom, Associated Press. What school would be the closest comparable to Michigan State on your schedule?
This year, God, it'd be tough to name one this year. We have a home-and-home series with VCU, but their styles are different. VCU's a really good physical team, but more of a pressing, trapping in a zone, and Tom's team's obviously a real tough, conventional man-to-man team. We beat Auburn early in the year in Bridgestone Arena in Nashville when their team was playing good, but, obviously to try to compare somebody to Michigan State. Probably style of play in our league, Old Dominion, but obviously not as talented.
Coach Aldo Amato with the Daily News Journal. Coach, who's a player this week that
really stuck out in practice? I know you mentioned Darnell Harris, how he might be a key to the game in the post, and he might be able to stretch it out on the three-point line. Who stuck out to you most in preparation ahead of Michigan State?
I don't know if there's, although really one particular guy. We do need Darnell Harris to play well because he is a five-man that, you know, at times he's as good as any center three-point shooter in college basketball, so we need him to be able to stretch defenses like that. Just our core guys have been good. Perrin's been good, Giddy, Reggie. Our whole team has had a good week of practice, and not in a elated sense, but just in a workmanlike of looking forward to the game.
On the aisle right here.
Hi, Kermit. Joe Rexo, Detroit Free Press.
Joe.
You mentioned Darnell, and I was wondering, you know, how has he done, you know, in the post when you do go man against the bigger guys? And is a guy like Gamble maybe more of a factor in a game like this?
You know, Carl's young. Carl's going to be a really, really good player. He's about 6'10", 6'9". He's young. He's going to get his chance tomorrow. You know, Darnell is not a real physical guy. So that kind of what we've done, Joe, is we've had to change defenses. So we'll play some 1-3-1. We'll play some 2-3. We'll play some different kind of mans and double teams. So we've had to do some different things defensively just for reasons like that.
On the aisle.
Thank you. Coach Marty Smith, ESPN, good morning. Congratulations.
Thank you.
As a peer of Tom Izzo's, how do you describe and analyze his March resume?
You know, it's when you watch Tom's team casually during the year, we love to watch his team. But when you really start scouting him, it's the first time I've ever played a team that Tom has coached, but you really start scouting him. And number one, what makes him so good, and I think him and Bill Self are about as good as any, is they can coach their best player the toughest, and nobody blinks. And I think when you do that at this level of program, then that's why teams just play like they do. And they're so physical, they play unselfish, and they play fast. And so I think it's just who he is. I think he's just consistent, and I think it just goes back. And Popovich is probably the best in the NBA at doing it. But when you can coach your very best players the hardest every day, and that's what he does with every different team, that's why your team in March will play just like his teams play.
Chris Solari with the Lansing State Journal-Current. You kind of touched on the ability to stretch the defense with the three ball from the post. Can you talk about Michigan State's defense? What kind of things do they do in the post, and how do they defend the three-point arc? Because it's obviously a big part of your game.
You know, their team is they're just conventional, physical, man-to-man. There's nothing tricky. They'll switch at times 1 through 3, but they're so long around the goal. Their help side defense is tremendous. They make you make tough twos. When you get within 15 feet, they don't foul a lot. They're big, stay walled up, and they really try to make you score over them. And then they're the best rebounding team in college basketball, so you're not getting a lot of cheap offensive putbacks against them. What we've got to do is we've just got to move them around. I mean, and it's nothing we haven't done. It's just who we are, is that, you know, our four is our leading assist guy. And he's going to run around, and we're going to move him around in motion and different things, and hopefully we can drive the ball and create some opportunities that way.
Back there.
Kyle Austin and Mod Media Group in Michigan. Just wondering if you could describe your personnel a little bit. It seems like you got a lot of similarly sized guys in that 6'6", 6'8" range. How much can you kind of switch, and what does that do for you with all those guys?
Yeah, you know, that's been a part of what we've done. The couple injuries have hurt us a little bit, but Giddy Potts, you know, our guard that leads college basketball in three-point field goal percentage, you know, he's 6'2" and about 220. And then you got Perrin Buford, Reggie Upshaw, both about the same size. Darnell Harris is around 6'7", 6'8". Jaquan Raymond, the guy will start at point tomorrow, 6'4", 6'5", 200 pounds. So we do have a lot of alike players, and hope that'll help us tomorrow.
Right here, Jim.
Jim Thomas, St. Louis Post-Dispatch. Coach, you mentioned earlier that one of the keys for you guys is just to do what you do. How do you keep the team, say, relaxed, playing relaxed, and maybe avoid getting caught up in the moment or even overwhelmed by the moment?
It's a great question. I don't know if it really, you know, I think it depends on the leadership you have in the locker room. And I think we have 3 seniors, Darnell and Perrin and Jaquan, have done a great job with that. I can just tell by their approach. Now, whether it's good enough tomorrow afternoon, I don't know. But I can just tell they do have a sense that they think they're going to play well, and they think they deserve to be in the game. And that's what matters. And then, you know, we're going to have Michigan State maybe do a few things they normally don't do to win? Sure, and that's just kind of how upsets maybe can happen.
Anything else for Coach Davis? Yes, on the aisle.
Chris Solari from the Lansing State Journal again. And you mentioned Giddy. What would this game be like with two? I mean, you're talking about the two leading three-point shooters in the country between him and Forbes. I mean, as a coach, you know, what's the thought of seeing those two guys go to head-to-head more or less?
Well, I think it'd be great for the fans. You know, I mean, Forbes is such an outstanding. Did he make 11 threes, I think, against Rutgers? And their team is so fun to watch. Hope it's not fun to watch tomorrow for us in transition when they start making threes in transition, but that's where they are. And that's what makes Valentine so good. I mean, you can put him, you got good shooters. He just delivers the ball at the right time, at the right place, convenient for guys to catch and shoot. And those guys are just great rhythm shooters in the break. But, yeah, you will. I mean, college basketball will see, because I tell you what, Giddy's like Forbes. Whenever he lets it go, you think it's in. You know, he just shoots it like that way all the time.
Okay, Coach, thank you very much, and best of luck.
All right, thanks, guys.
Dayton will be next at 12:50. Maybe after a game. You could only hope.
I always like the microphones here.
You good, bro?
For real.
You see how loud it is?
Like surround sound. Right. That's where he messed up. He was trying to, he was on there trying to whisper. These mics pick up everything.
The 150 time slot features the Dayton Flyers. They're number 7 seed in the Midwest. They're out of the Atlantic 10 Conference. They will play number 10 Syracuse in Friday's first game at 11:15. With us is Charles Cook, Deshaun Pierce, and Scoochie Smith. And we'll open up with questions for any of the 3 student athletes of Dayton. Right here in front.
For Daishan and Scoochie, what do you kind of remember about the game 2 years ago, and how, you know, so close down the stretch, you got that 6-point lead, and then they, you know, made a little comeback, and just take me through the emotions of that and, you know, closing out the win.
Deshaun, you first, please.
think the most memorable thing about it was how tough we played, and there's a lot of runs, there's a lot of ups and downs, but in the end we stuck together, and that's the biggest thing that we need to bring from that game to this game.
Most memorable part of that game for me was just having the momentum in that game, coming off a big win against Ohio State, and just our team staying connected and having the whole Fly of Faithful supporting us as well.
Do you have any specific memory of that shot going right at the end, and what the feeling was like right after?
Questions for who?
For either of those.
Deshaun, go ahead.
It was
Not me.
It was definitely relieving when we saw the shot go out. Miss for sure, but yeah, just relieving.
It was a little scary. That was the second game in a row. The opponent got an opportunity to win the game, so it was just a little nerve-wracking. But it was a good feeling after I seen the missed shot.
Going back.
Charles, is today kind of the day that you were thinking about when you decided to come to Dayton?
Just really happy to be here with these guys and the team. It's definitely something that I imagined, especially sitting out a whole year and seeing what these guys had accomplished, even with 7 players on the roster. And I really wanted to be a part of it. And, I did everything I could in the off season, in the summertime, even trying to make these guys better, in practices. So, it just really feels good to be here after a whole year sitting out and, just really trying to make the most of it with these guys.
On the aisle, gentlemen.
Following up just on that very quickly, you had a taste of the NCAA tournament at James Madison when you're a freshman, I believe. How does this feel different, though?
Yeah, it feels different just because, the amount of work that I put in, the goals that I set for myself, and, just trying to play with the team and just figuring everything out and, just really meshing in with these guys, just jumping in head first. I didn't know what to expect at all, but, it really worked out for the best. And I think that's why I feel so much more worth it than it had been when I was a freshman at James Madison.
Yep, stay right there.
Deshaun, how has this team developed since the first of the year, since January to where you guys are now? How far have you come?
I think we came a long way since that point. I think with adding players and just having a couple losses, I think we've learned a lot from our mistakes and just learning that we got to stay together through everything. And we're going to play a lot of tough teams in the tournament, and Syracuse is a really tough team, and we got to stay together like we have been throughout the whole year.
Anything else for the student athletes of Dayton? Okay, gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. And best of luck tomorrow. Archie Miller will be next at 1:05. coach of the Flyers is here, Archie Miller. We're going to ask him to make a statement regarding his team about being in St. Louis, and then we will go to questions. Archie, please.
Well, it's great to be here in St. Louis, and really excited to be back in the tournament again for our third year, and have a great opponent in Syracuse. So the excitement level and of our team in general has been up all week, and I think we're anxious to get on the court and sort of get going.
On the aisle.
Archie, Mike LaPresti with NCAA.com. You had kind of an unusual season personnel-wise. You had some injuries, you had the suspension. How challenging was it to work through all those things and keep everything going the right direction?
It was difficult. I think the one thing is starting the season, you know, with maybe your most productive player coming back not going to be available was something that, you know, was uncertain. We were uncertain. You know, our front court is young other than maybe Kendall's experience level. But I think Charles, you know, really gave us a boost early in the year that we weren't real sure, just that he hasn't played. And he got off to, I thought, a tremendous start. And our non-conference schedule was very difficult, so I knew we were tested. The challenging thing, not so much for Deshaun as he came back, was the other guys, because as he did come back, it was clear we were going to use him. And when we did use him, it just became something that we had to get him in the mix a lot and to get his rhythm back with the other players. And some guys had to take a back seat. You know, we didn't play some guys who played a lot of minutes leading into that. So that was a challenge. And I think early January, late December, we sort of working those kinks out. And then when we were healthiest of the year, when we ripped off, I think, 9 in a row, that was the rotation that was going to be set in stone there for a while. And then Kendall's setback at the end sort of changed us again. But, you know, I think as we're here right now, we're in a good way. We have a lot of different guys, I think, working hard that can impact the game. And, you know, we'll see. We're going to have some different guys step up as the tournament gets started on Friday.
Right there.
Sam Blum from the Daily Orange. A lot of the Syracuse guys said they've been watching tape, you know, from the game 2 years ago, and I know Syracuse has a lot fewer players on its team currently than you guys do from that game. Have you guys looked at that tape and you know, gone off that game, I guess, at all?
Different personnel on both teams, and our philosophy on both ends of the ball has changed slightly. In watching them play, they do, you know, they're pretty much in very similar fashion to Coach Boeheim's teams, very, very free-flowing on offense, and defensively the zone is the zone. The one thing that's a little bit unique in that first game that we played them, I thought we had a different type of a team physically. We were bigger, we were stronger. You know, Deshaun at that time was playing the 3 slot for us, so I thought we had a couple different guys that could work in and out of that zone, where this year we don't have as many. So it's going to be very, very challenging. You know, I think the mindset of the two teams will be another thing that's a lot different right now, you know, getting into the tournament. So you can go back and look at it for sure, but I think it's going to be a different type of a game.
Going back to that game, what do you kind of remember about the emotions there when you almost lost that 6-point lead, and then what it kind of meant for your program to get that and continue on in the tournament that year?
Well, I would say that as much as anything, you know, a win like that against Syracuse, advancing to the Sweet 16, may have as much reason as us being here for the 3rd year in a row as anything. You know, March has become the stage with all the lights, and if you're able to be in this stage and you're able to win a game, I think it feels great. When you're able to make a run like we made a couple years ago, I think it carries over to your players' experience level, big game mentality in the last couple regular seasons. So a game like that, being able to win it, you know, I think has propelled us to be where we're at right now.
Over on the left, Archie.
Coach, I was talking to a couple of your guys about this, kind of an unorthodox question, but I was wondering if you prefer, as a coach, the first half or the second half from the perspective of calling offensive plays to your players, them being closer to you in the second half, or on defense, shouting out defensive things because the basket they're at is by your bench and by you.
Well, we've always been much better on defense in the first half and much better on offense in the second half. And I think, you know, being able to communicate with your players during a game and the flow of a game is important, especially with the way we play. So I always would like to have, I guess, our offense in front of us late in the game, especially in tight ones when you're able to help easier communicate to your guys. And especially in the first half defensively, I think we're a lot more successful. But, you know, I guess that's just the way the game goes. So I don't know, maybe some coaches don't care, or they'd rather have their defense in front of them late in the game. Never had to, really had that opportunity, so I don't know what it feels like, but definitely like to communicate with our guys when they're in front of us.
Mike Waters, Syracuse Media Group. Archie, you've had a good run at Dayton the last 4 years, but before you, Brian Gregory, Oliver Purnell, and of course Don for years. What is the secret at Dayton? What is it about Dayton that helps so many different guys have success there?
Well, I think at first it has to start and stop with the administration. I think it has to go down from the vision of the administration and understanding that basketball is extremely important. I think the second thing would be the tradition-based fans, a community feel in town, but a fan base that's very knowledgeable, that loves our arena, that loves the feel of, being a part of a winner. And I think that's carried over. Right now, the momentum that we have with, our fan base and what's going on in the city of Dayton around our program is at a high. And, but I think it starts from the top, administration and the importance, and they understand that, we have a great fan base and we need to cater to them. And the vision is to always continue to improve. And you'll see when we tip at 11:15, we're going to have a heck of a showing here.
Just a quick follow-up. Ever since 2014 with that Elite Eight run, your name comes up whenever there's a job opening out there. How do you handle that?
I've never paid any attention to it, to be honest with you. I have a job to do. Whether I'm an assistant coach, a graduate assistant, or now the head coach, I've always been taught if you do a great job at what you're doing, good things will happen. I just try to do a great job for our players at Dayton. I'm very, very comfortable at Dayton. We have a place, I think, to continue to even get better and better. And what we do right now, we own. It's ours. And I'm proud of that.
Archie, Dayton's record against the Power Five last few years has been pretty impressive. How much do you consider that a sign of what that program is, and how important is that number to you?
Well, I think, when you play in the Atlantic 10 and sometimes you can get overlooked a little bit, from an exposure standpoint, that any time we've had an opportunity to play against, like you said, a Power 5 team, I think it raises our guys' interest level. I think it raises them. They play with a chip on their shoulder. They have an edge about them. In many cases, they weren't good enough to play at a lot of those places. And you're dealing with a team that's always literally trying to prove themselves. So I think that's some of the advantage. I think some of it is we're better than a lot of those teams. You can say whatever you want to say about Power 5. We're better than some of those teams. We've beat teams that are good teams, but we've also been pretty good. And, as we get ready to approach this tournament, a sense of belonging here rather than excited to be here is a different feeling at this time of year as well. Our guys pretty much, from the start of the season all the way through, it wasn't about the tournament. It was about, winning a championship. And then once we get to the tournament, we'll see where we're at, and let's go try to play, have fun in advance. But we have a different group now. And, I think as we get ready to approach even more so, games next year, whatever it may be, I don't necessarily know if we're looked at anymore as, that team that, is from the Atlantic 10 or whatever. I think Dayton has its own name now.
3 questions are up, starting the right-hand side. Go.
Hi, Coach. Good afternoon. Marty Smith from ESPN.
How you doing?
I am fantastic. Congratulations for being here.
Thank you.
I think Coach Boeheim has been at Syracuse longer than you've been alive, man. What is your impression of his tenure and ability to stay relevant for all these years?
Well, he's an incredible coach. The first thing I think when you talk about Coach Boeheim is the most impressive thing is the legions and decades of players that are so loyal to him. Alan Griffin, who's on my staff, who played for Coach Boeheim, it's almost like they're one of his sons, and he's got a lot of them. And I think as a coach, even me, developing our own brand and just thinking about guys that have graduated and come back, he has decades full of players that love him. I think that's the first step. And I think the second thing that's most important is they're very, very comfortable being himself, very, very comfortable being themselves on the court. They change for nobody. There's a great confidence level in how they play, how they develop their players, and how they coach. And I think, there's a brand that's next to Syracuse. It'll be there forever because of him. So he's a Hall of Famer, but he's a very, very intelligent guy, and he breeds confidence. And when you can do it as long as he has and the loyal players that he has underneath him, very, very impressive.
Yeah, Tom Archdeacon from Dayton. Steve McElvain, just the way he's matured this year, if he has, and are we just seeing the tip of the iceberg of what he could be, or just what do you see this kid could be?
Well, Steve's done a nice job for us. You know, he's basically a freshman. You know, he played his first year of college basketball, and I think it's harder even for big kids early in their careers to figure out how the college game works for them than more so even for a guard. So Steve's helped us win. Steve's helped us get here. You look at some of the numbers he has per minute, and you look at some of our defensive numbers in particular, he's a big reason why. But he's the very, very tip of what he could be. You know, Steve has a chance to be as good as he wants to be. He's got great hands. He's got great length, and he has an unbelievable appetite to work. There's very few days that he doesn't show up and work very hard. But learning the game, being smarter, you know, how people go after him, you know, and the fouling and some things like that, that's immaturity just in terms of not understanding, you know, the game. As he gets older, a game like this on Friday, he gets this under his belt. You know, he's going to continue to gain that knowledge that a big guy needs to have. And, you know, I'm proud of Steve. Steve started, you know, from, I don't want to say rock bottom, but Steve started at one level at 300 pounds. You know, today he's 250 pounds, and, you know, he's played his first year of college basketball, and he's doing a nice job in the classroom. So we'll see. You know, I think the big thing for him is to continue to work hard, have a good attitude, and the sky's the limit.
We are under 4 minutes to go. 2 questions are up. Go, please.
Coach, obviously, this time of year we hear a lot about small schools, and even though Dayton may not be the biggest school in the tournament, there is no Cinderella where you're at. Been here, done that. How much of an advantage now is you guys fully expect to advance, and when you recruit, guys don't come here hoping to get in the tournament. They hope to advance and go far. How much mindset-wise does it help you?
I think it should help. You know, I think, you know, being yourself in this tournament, being yourself this time of year is the most important thing. Do the things that you've done all year to get here and don't change. I think so many times you can come into the tournament, and if you're not careful, all the media, all the open practices, all the hoopla can have you not ready, and as fast as you got here, you even get kicked out quicker. So I think as we've been able to do a couple things the last couple years, the one thing that has been very key is talking about being ourselves. We don't have to change for anybody. What we do works, and just kind of keeping that mantra. And that's gotten us here now, and I think as we prepared this week, we haven't changed a whole lot in our approach. I think the biggest thing is a mindset that as you get ready to play this game, how hard you have to play. And I think some guys on our team clearly know what it's going to feel like. So I think you have to have an advantage about that.
You talked about Coach Griffin. I mean, what is, looking at this week, I guess, what does he kind of bring to the table in terms of helping prepare your team, and what is he kind of?
Nothing. He's scared to death. He's scared to death. Coach Boeheim scares him like no other person has ever been scared. He has no value in this game at all, actually. He just sits there and he's very quiet on the bench. No, Griff's done a great job. I mean, he's done a great job for us in his time here. He does a great job with our players. There's not much he's going to tell me that I'm not going to know. They're going to play a real good zone, and they're going to get their best player shots. That's what they do, and they play with great freedom. And he understands that more than anybody because he's been there. But, you know, there's a couple things that, you know, he has a familiarity with that help us a little bit. But your personnel, your players, they have to go out there and play.
Anything else for Coach Miller? All right, thank you very much, and
Thank
best
you.
of luck.
Thank you.
Michigan State is next at 1:35. Michigan State Spartans are with us. They are the number 2 seeded team in the Midwest. They are the Big Ten Conference Tournament champions. They'll play number 15 Middle Tennessee State in Friday's second game. This will be a little shorter version as we have a hard out on the satellite at 2:05, and we need to get the student athletes in and Coach Tom Izzo. So please heed my warnings on time. Questions for the student athletes? We'll start right there on the side.
Denzel, early in the year, maybe even before the year, I talked to you about Aaron Harris and the Final Four last year in the postseason, moments where you thought, that's the guy we really need right now and can create his own shot. Can you talk about the element he presents coming into this postseason and sort of the eagerness he has after sitting out and watching you guys do it last year?
Yeah, Aaron, he provides a lot for us. I think the biggest thing this year is that he's just going to be consistent. We know what we're getting from him. He's going to be solid defensively, and then offense, you might get 4 points, or you could even go up to 30. So I mean, he's a really good threat for us to have. He's been great this year, and like you said, he hasn't been to an NCAA tournament before, so he's hyped up. As soon as me and him are roommates, as soon as we walked in the room, he was hyped up about the March Madness gear and everything like that. So I think he's going to step up his game a little bit because he hasn't been to an NCAA tournament. So he's going to provide a really good spark for us.
Hi, guys. For Bryn, you didn't go straight to Michigan State. I want to ask you about being a kid from Lansing and not getting to go where what might have been your first choice. I don't know if it was, but you weren't deemed, ready for it then. But and then later on you were. Can you just talk about that path and where you're at now?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't trade the experience for the world. It was really like a growing experience for me. Having to go away and really, really grow. In a lot of areas of my life. Whether it's personal life or on the court, and I think it was the good path for me, and the right path for me. So.
Bryn, Aldo Amato with the Daily News Journal. You'll be facing off against probably one of the top 3-point shooters as well in Giddy Potts. What could you expect this game to be like if you guys keep going back and forth to the three?
Oh, no, Giddy Potts is a great shooter. I've seen some film on him, and he doesn't miss much. But I don't know. I think if we both got hot, it could be pretty exciting.
Right here, yes?
Denzel, with what you saw of, Bryn, let's say senior year of high school, where he was at, and to get to where he needed to be able to come to Michigan State, what did he have to do, and what was your role in helping him figure that out?
I really don't think he had to do anything. He's always been a great shooter, a great scorer. I don't know, I guess timing was key in him coming back to Michigan State. I really don't think he had to work on anything necessarily. Obviously, his weight, he gained 15 pounds whenever it got stronger, and his defense got better and everything. But as far as offensive-wise, I didn't think he needed to really work on anything. He just needed the little things here and there, but he was pretty much a high major coming out of high school.
On the right.
Marty Smith, ESPN. Hello, gentlemen. I'd like to hear from all of you, if that's okay. When you leave here, you've had tremendously successful careers, and you play for a Hall of Fame basketball coach. When you leave Michigan State, what from Coach Izzo will you take with you? What's the number one thing? What's the biggest lesson that he has taught you, basketball or not, that goes with you?
We'll hear from Bryn first, then Matt, then Denzel.
One thing that Iz has that I haven't seen from any other people, not even just coaches or players, is his intensity. He brings it every single day, even if we don't, and that's really kind of eye-opening how much, how passionate and how intense he is about this. And there's never a day he misses where you can tell this is 100% his focus and the most important thing to him. So that's the main thing I take.
For me, it's watching how he prepares. He's one of the best ever for film study and pushing guys to prepare, whether it's what they do or just staying focused. And it's really taught me how I can go forward in life, if I keep playing basketball, or if I go in the business world, just to prepare for the different situations that are coming up to me.
And I think for me, it's just never being satisfied and bringing it every day. No matter what we do or how bad we lose or how bad we win, he stays the same. And it's always intense, brings it every single day. And that's one thing I noticed from high school to college is every single day it's a grind, and you're trying to strive to get better every day.
In the back, Karen, thank you.
Gentlemen, for all three of you, I just was talking to Tom in the locker room about this, but how much is this tournament about understanding you're playing yourself even more than the team you're going against? Just understanding it's about you living up to your potential.
We'll go the other way this time. Denzel, then Matt, then Bryn.
I mean, there's a lot of great teams in this tournament. They're all great. They wouldn't be here if they weren't. So we just got to take it one game at a time. Middle Tennessee is a great team. They won their conference. I mean, they look pretty good on film. So we're gonna have to bring it from day one. We start off with a tough opponent, and then we'll go from there.
I wouldn't say it's necessarily playing ourselves. Like Zell said, these are good teams. And just look at last year for us. We lost to Texas Southern, and that hurt us early in the year. And so we can lose to anybody, so we got to just be ready to go.
I mean, I personally think that if we execute and follow the game plan, it kind of is up to us, our destiny, I'd say. Because we have some of the best staff to prepare for games. I think the best in the country. And if we can execute and do what they tell us, I think we'll be fine.
Anything else for the Spartans of Michigan State? Yes, go.
Want to ask all you guys, who's the best shooter you've seen this year?
Bryn, you start off, then Matt. We'll come down here to Denzel third.
You? Bryn Forbes.
That's what I was going to say, Bryn Forbes. That's
Bryn
all
Forbes.
I got.
No disrespect to anybody, Bryn Forbes.
I mean, I don't.
He's not allowed to answer. He can't be too
He
cocky.
can't answer.
Nah.
We'll answer it for him. Bryn Forbes.
I really don't know. I can't even.
You good, man. You good. We got it. Anything else?
Anything else? All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. Good luck tomorrow. Michigan State coach Tom Izzo is now with us, and we're going to ask him to make a statement on his team being here in St. Louis, and then we'll go to questions. Tom, please.
I love St. Louis. I wish St. Louis, I wish we could play them because they've been very kind to us over the years, but unfortunately there's other people we have to play in St. Louis, and I think we're playing a team, and Kermit's team is very well coached. They run a lot of things. They play a lot of different defenses. They got 5 guys that can shoot it, and they got the leading three-point shooter percentage-wise in the country. So it creates different problems for us that maybe we're used to in our league when you got 5 guys that are shooting threes in that starting group. But at the same time, I'm really excited and feel privileged that we're here, and we're here with a good team. And whether it ends up a great team, I guess that's what the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks are for.
Yep, start on the aisle there, and this will be number 2. Go ahead.
Hondo Carpenter with Spartan Nation. Tom, I've only watched 2 of their games, so I apologize if this is not indicative of them, but they're extremely unselfish with their help defense. They love to help. Because you have so many weapons, though, that they're maybe not used to facing, does that give you an opportunity when they are being extremely unselfish to maybe punish them?
I hope so. You know, I think we both create some problems for each other, and that's kind of what the NCAA tournament's all about, facing people that are different than the ones you've faced. And, you know, they're very good defensively. They're not real big, but they're very athletic. They're very long. And like I said, well coached. I mean, he can coach. Now, I've known that for 20, 30 years. So, you know, shooters got to make shots. You can't turn the ball over. You can't get in foul trouble. I mean, it's the same old things. You know, it's like watching the Super Bowl, you know, and they talk about the things you got to do there. You can't turn it over. You got to play good defense, you know. Quarterback's got to make some plays. Kind of the same in all sports, you know. We're in a baseball city. Pitchers don't pitch, hitters don't hit. You go home, and that's kind of the way it is.
Tom, the one veteran on your roster who hasn't been through this is Aaron Harris. And Denzel Valentine a year ago talked about that being the type of guy that was really needed at points, especially when you got to play Duke. What can he provide now, and what has he learned from the beginning of the year about the stumbles he started with to now about a new experience and how to treat it?
Well, Aaron, along with Matt Costello, have probably been our 2 most improved players because they've both jumped up a lot. I mean, Aaron is not scoring as much as he scored at West Virginia, but I think defensively he's grown a lot, and he's made us a better team because of his defense, and yet I still think he can score a lot. It's just that he can only share the ball to so many different people. So he has made big progress with his defense, and I think on the break we need him, his athletic ability to get out, and when he's open, he's got to knock down shots. And at least Denzel will have one guy on each wing to pass to, and it would be harder to sag in on people if we get it into the post because he can shoot the 3 just as well as the other guys.
Right-hand side, Tom.
Me? Okay. Hi, Coach. Marty Smith from ESPN. Good afternoon. Your
Hi, Marty.
teams always seem to peak at this time of year at the right time. I know all teams are different, but what is your general thought on reaching that crescendo with each team?
Well, that's a $1 million question, and you know, I don't think it's me. I think it's the culture that we've built there. I think there's not a pressure, there's an expectation amongst players when they're playing in the summer and the former guys come back and our pro guys come back, or from Magic Johnson and Steve Smith come back. You know, people talk about the Final Four. People talk about winning championships. I think there's a culture there and an expectation that wherever you are at the beginning of the year, you better get good enough by the end of the year. And I'm telling you, it's not being coached as much as it's being player coached. You know, Denzel and Matt did an incredible job last year after we got beat by Duke at setting the standards, and they worked all spring, summer, and fall at it. And I think we're reaping some of the benefits by having a good year. The problem is, you know, one of the best high school teams in the state of Michigan is in East Lansing last night, and they got upset by a 10-10 team. And one and done time is one and done. And, you know, one bad call, one sprained ankle, one bad shooting night, and you know, you're going home. And that's the uniqueness of this, even to the NBA, you know. Best of 7 would seem good right now. I'd like my chances better. But I think that we talk about that from the first day to the last, you know. The my bad's got to start going away as the year goes on. Because when you have a my bad in March, it means you're going home.
Hi, Tom. Steve Greenberg from Bleacher Report. Want to ask you about Bryn, coming out of high school, hometown kid, maybe wasn't good enough then for a scholarship. What did he do to get himself there? And have you had another player, you know, who's done something similar to what he's done?
Well, I think what he did in high school is the guy recruiting him probably did a bad job, you know. I mean, I think he was probably good enough in high school, just that we didn't see it that way, or we didn't have that same need, or we didn't have the scholarships because he was coached by Denzel's dad. He played with Denzel. I'd go watch Denzel after Denzel signed with us, and he had signed with Cleveland State, and there were times he was the best player on the floor. And so I feel fortunate, lucky to have him back. You know, I'm not crazy about the rule, if I was to be very honest about it, but I am fortunate that he's here. And, you know, there's been a Sean Respert, a Steve Smith, you know, there's been guys that could knock down shots. Chris Hill, but I don't know many better that I've had that can do it on a consistent basis like this kid has done it. Add that to the fact he's gotten bigger, stronger, way better defensively. He's improved his game a lot in the past year, and that put him in a position he's in.
Tom, you mentioned the one and done with East Lansing. You mentioned Sean Respert. Have you noticed that Weber State is in this pod, and will you use that as anything for your team? And
you know, I've used up so many things with my team. I got nothing left. I've shown them and talked to them about Duke and about this team and about that team. And you know, I talked to Sean Respert the other day, and you know, when we got beat by Weber State, but. You know, this team has got something a little different, too. They've been to a Sweet 16, an Elite Eight, a Final Four. There's been 3 or 4 guys that have played in these deep runs. Winning that championship last week, you know, it's not the end of the world, but when you got to play, or beginning of the world, but when you got to play 3 games in 3 days against that kind of competition, it kind of hardens you. It gets you ready. So I think what I got to use for motivation, this team has not looked past anybody all year. I mean, they really haven't. We haven't always played good, but I've never looked at it and said, oh, boy, we practiced bad this week. There's been a day or two when I was, you know, you got to, if it's going too smooth, you got to be miserable just to make sure that you create some controversy. But it hasn't been anything that they've done. And I think when you got good leadership like we got, player-coach team keeps that even keel. And I'm not going to use that as motivation. I'm going to use the motivation of what we got to play for, and not what happened 20 years ago or 10 years ago, even though I've done that in the past. I just think this is the time when it's about Michigan State getting better, and that's what we're going to use.
Hey, Coach, back here. Good to see you. You guys are one of the best, maybe arguably the best three-point shooting teams in the country. Pretty high volume, incredibly high accuracy. 10, 15 years ago, a Tom Izzo Michigan State team typically did not shoot too many three-pointers. I think that's probably safe to say. I was wondering, you know, how that kind of development happened, how you've adjusted to it. I see you laughing, so maybe maybe it took some psychological adjusting. And also, if you know, it's a very, the three-pointer and relying on it's a very dangerous weapon, but it's also a high variable weapon. And I wonder how you approach that coming into the one and done of March.
Well, I was just thinking of what a polite way you said that we couldn't shoot the ball in the ocean. It was really well done. You know, Judd Heathcote used to say my best offense my first 5 years was the missed shot. So, you know, we'd go rebound it. But, you know, the three-point, that's what made last weekend so important. We didn't shoot the ball very well. And we found a way to beat quality teams. And, you know, it's why I love football so much. You know, I'm not necessarily a Denver Bronco fan, but I was a Denver Bronco fan this year because I'm always a fan of the best defensive teams. You know, you look in college, pro, the best defensive teams are winning games. And if you start relying on that three-point shot, it's fool's gold. Because sooner or later, you're not going to make shots. You know, I don't know if it's the wind in the arena or what it is, but you're not going to make shots. We didn't make a lot of shots last weekend. We found a way to grind it out and gut it out. And I thought that was as important for us because you're not going to go through 6 games and just shoot the lights out to make a run in this tournament, just like you're not going to do 3 games in that, usually. We have been fairly consistent shooting the ball, but what I like more is we've been a very consistent defensive team, and we've led the nation in rebounding. And those stats are more important to me than the three-point because I did think once or twice we were kind of becoming a team that relied on the three-point shot. And I tried to rip that apart in practice a few times, I can promise you that.
We have 5 minutes to go. 2 questions are on the right-hand side. Go.
Hi, Coach. It seems like you and Coach D'Antonio's programs have really symbiotic relationship. Like, you're really supportive of one another. You even took your kids to the Cotton Bowl, right?
Yeah.
How has your relationship with him and his particular philosophy impacted you as a coach?
Well, it's been interesting. When Mark was an assistant with Nick Saban, we got to be friends then. And, I think Mark took some things from Ohio State and from Nick, and I've stole from every coach that has been good. I just look at good coaches, and if I don't know them, I call them, and I try to steal from them and I love football. I just absolutely, I know I'm coming back in my second life, and it's probably going to be in Division VII, but I'm going to coach football somewhere. And so Mark and I have been friends. I think I was involved a little bit in his hiring. I got to be on the committee. I just have tremendous respect for him. He does it the right way. He, too, I was the defensive coordinator at Ohio State when they won it. He was Nick's defensive guy. Nick's a defensive guy. Everybody wants the offensive guy, and I think they've done what we did this year. They were so good defensively for a couple of years, and then they blended it with good offense. And I think that's what we've done this year. So Mark and I talk often. He called me before I left. I told him he tells me he's trying to get to a Final Four last year like we did, and I'm telling him we're trying to get where he did. So maybe we drive each other, but it's in a very positive manner, and it's one where I can call him and talk to him about a problem, or how did you handle this, or he called me about the hype of the Final Four, and what that was like, and I'm not sure we always do a great job for each other, but at least we're there for each other. It's pretty cool.
Hey, Tom, you've got 3 seniors who are playing in their final tournament, Kobe in his 5th, and then you've got 3 kids, including Aaron, who are playing in their first NCAA tournaments. So how do you kind of approach that with them? Is it a different approach for each, or you tell the team one thing and they just kind of run with it?
I tell those 3 that are seniors that are playing in their last one, you better make sure those rookies that are playing in their first one understand that you don't have another day. And so that's your job. That's your job to tell them. And then on the side, I'll say, don't get caught up that you can, sometimes you may never get back to the NCAA tournament. And they can't understand that. So I could preach to them all day long. They wouldn't understand it. That's why those seniors telling them, and that's why that relationship with this team that is as close as any I've had is so valuable. Because I think those freshmen, sophomores, and juniors want to send those seniors out the right way. And that's really a cool thing. Coaches die for that, and it's really good, because then we don't have to intervene. It takes care of itself.
We have time for 2 questions. One's all the way in the back, one's on the aisle. Go.
Hi, Coach. I know lately you guys have been playing extremely well. Obviously, you won the conference tournament. Maybe not handily, but you still got it done. And I was just wondering if there's any sort of sense of complacency within the team right now, or if you think that they know that the tournament is a completely different battle for them.
Oh, I think they know it's a different battle. I've got a staff that's been through, 4 or 5 Final Fours. I've got some players that have been through 1 and a Sweet 16 and an Elite 8. The complacency isn't really legal in our program at all. And if it is, we have an ability to get rid of it quick. And I mean that about as forcefully as I can say it, because that, to me, is the biggest disease on the planet for all of us. I've been in a lot of Final Fours. I'm about as complacent as nobody. I don't feel good about anything right now except the chance to get to another one. And I think that's the way the players feel. We did not play great last weekend, and they know that. But we did what you got to do, and that's find a way to win and grind it out and maybe be more physical and maybe be a little better defensively. But I think our shooting will come back, and if it does, then chances go up for us.
Final question.
Tom, for those of us like you who've known Denzel since he was a child, other than off the court, he really hasn't changed. He's humble. He's just the same kid he always was. And today, President Obama calling him the best player in the country, and it just does not faze him. How much is his being so surreal off the court benefit him as a leader?
Well, don't kid yourself that it doesn't faze him. I mean, President Obama picked us to win a couple of years ago, and I still feel I let him down. So, I mean, it phases us, but it doesn't. He is a humble kid, you know. He's well raised. His father is, you know, tougher than I am on him. But again, it's just another one of those things that I think we've preached in our program, and I think, you know, if Draymond saw him get a little bit big-headed, he's whacking him. Magic called him the other day. He's getting them. You know, it's the cool thing about what we have, and that's why I said at the beginning of the questions, the culture is good right now, and the culture has been built, and it's been a 20-year build. And so he is one of the consummate examples of what happens when you come through and keep your humility and keep your work ethic and understand that, you know, treat people right. Denzel's done an incredible job. I don't know what's going to happen the night he's done. You know, and that's going to be a hard night for me because he's done everything I could ask of him.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks.
Good luck.
Marty, I want to see a minute.